Hello and welcome to the Ratio Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Ray, and we're coming to you from beautiful downtown Athens, Georgia. So good to be back with you here in 2022, getting ready to launch this new season. We've got a really amazing episode for you tonight. We've got to talk with the one and only Marissa Nadler. She's going to talk about her latest record, The Path of the Clouds, which had a companion EP, The Wrath of the Clouds, come out just recently. We're going to be talking to her about all those two projects, those two albums, and also her appearance at Psycho Las Vegas. So it's a really fun chat. Marissa's amazing, as you already know, and I would tell everyone to go down the rabbit hole of her catalog. Her music has been a cherished friend for, as long as she's been putting these things out. So looking forward to that chat, and it'll be up with you in just a minute. But a few things I want to mention here at the onset. We will be out at Psycho Las Vegas this year after a year layoff due to the whatever variant was going on at that time. So that kept us away last year, but we are back, and hopefully everything will be full speed ahead this year with full coverage. Also, want to let you know that we are partnering with Cine here in Athens, Georgia. Cine is our local nonprofit art house movie theater. We will be doing live tapings actually in the lab at Cine, which will be live streamed over a number of platforms, and you'll be hearing about those upcoming soon, as well as the tickets for the shows. We've got some really cool guests coming up that'll be there in person, so we don't want you to miss any of that. So if you're in the Athens area, make sure you come out. And as I said, we'll be announcing that soon. But without further delay, let's get to our chat with the amazing Marissa Nadler. All right, everybody. Today we have the one and only Marissa Nadler on the podcast. Hello, Marissa. Thank you so much for coming on the Ray Show.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yay. Okay, cool. Well, today we're going to be discussing the amazing album, The Path of the Clouds, which came out last year, and the companion EP, The Wrath of the Clouds, which came out just recently. And in doing research for this interview, I found escape repeatedly mentioned as a theme for these songs. To me, I want to add it celebrates the beauty and the freedom of escape. I mean, almost the glory of escaping, if you will. It seems like a warm place to be in these songs.
Yeah.
How did this all start coming about in your head?
It was a pretty organic process. I was drawn to some of the stories that I was writing about and finding parallels in my own life and the lives of people that I know.
Yeah, and they reference real life disappearances and people who seemingly just vanished. D.B. Cooper is one that sticks out from the title track of The Path of the Clouds. I was fascinated with him when I was a kid because there was this cable movie that I saw, the Pursuit of D.B. Cooper. So some of these, they're almost mythological characters to me. Was this a choice before writing commenced, or did the songs just out of caring about these stories and the people in them?
Well, a long time ago, I had this idea to write a whole record about Unsolved Mysteries. And then I kind of abandoned that idea and let these songs kind of dictate where the record would go, because only 3 of the songs on The Path of the Clouds are directly from real stories, and the rest are pretty personal. And I felt like they ended up sitting well together and on a record in an interesting fashion. But I started out with writing exercises, taking notes, watching that show, just to kind of, it was just like they wrote themselves kind of in a way, just the details of that, the D.B. Cooper story, as well as the Alcatraz escape in Well, Sometimes You Just Can't Stay, which is, and Bessie and Glenn Hyde, there were such vivid stories that I was just drawn to the fact that they really were never solved, and people still speculate on what happened to them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you wrote these songs on piano, and an instrument that I read that you learned during lockdown. Had you dabbled before? Was this a first kind of earnest attempt?
I had dabbled before, but just a little. I took lessons as a kid and quit and didn't have a good teacher, but I ended up taking lessons from the guy that played piano on the record. His name is Jesse Chandler, and he's in Midlake and Mercury Rev, and just a friend that I met touring. And I started to learn to read music. So I'd always been a self-taught ear musician, and so playing on the piano did help me to come up with more different chord progressions than the muscle memory of playing guitar for 20 years. Just you kind of sometimes gravitate towards same stuff.
Right, right. Um, well, you just mentioned the piano. You have an amazing lineup of guests who bring this album to life, including former Cocteau Twins bassist Simon Ramon, Emma Ruth Rundle, and harpist Mary Lattimore. What did the process look like putting these collaborations together? I mean, how did you do it?
Well, I recorded a lot of the bass tracks at my home studio with Pro Tools, which I also learned during the pandemic. I switched from Logic to Pro Tools. And I just basically asked people to play that I thought would add a lot, since I couldn't really collaborate in person. And because of the amount of years I've been doing this, I know a lot of musicians, and I was really excited that Simon, who runs my European record label, Bella Union, he agreed to do the playing and then sent stuff back the next day. And it was so beautiful. It was really organic. I basically kept almost everything people sent, and it fit together really well.
Right, right. It's dazzling to listen to. The guitar on this record. Are you doing all the guitar on it, or do you have a lot of guests
Oh,
that are adding?
no, I play the acoustic finger picking on the guitar, and Milky Burgess, who is a multi-instrumentalist that I work with a lot, played all the electric guitar, like all the riffs and stuff. And he's a great player, and so it was really collaborative. He was the only person that was there with me in person when I med the record.
Right, right. Well, the solos on this are so tasteful. I mean, it's like, but epic at the same time. Just they fit the song so perfect. It's dazzling to hear. Like something like I couldn't have done the killing. I mean, there's the guitar and everything, the callbacks on that. It just has this feeling of moving on taking power back from someone who's had a grasp on your emotions.
Yeah.
and very empowering. And the video is so much fun. Who did that? All those disparate images, it's really something to watch.
Yeah, so my best girlfriend, one of my best girlfriends, Kristen, from Boston, and her husband, Kristen Dute and Tyler Derryberry, made that video. And they had the concept from the very beginning that the video would be made in the style of like late 80s, early 90s crime TV, and compiled of clips showing no faces, but there's no faces in the whole video, and it's or not a lot. And it was they really just stuck to the concept and executed it perfectly. And it's a really fun video, very noir and kind of a little tongue in cheek.
Yeah, yeah. It just you keep waiting. It just really, I don't know. It stuck with me several, and I watch very few videos now that are made, so it really stuck with me. But going back to the songs, some of the ones like you mentioned that have real life people in it, and then on the Wrath of the Clouds, you personify something like the Queen Mary, kind of being this watcher of history as it's gone by, in a very beautiful way. How do you feel about I think the magic of some of these songs is these characters stay alive in the listener's mind long after it's over with, and how do you feel about resurrecting some of these folks, or at least bringing them back into a modern sense where people can learn about them?
Well, I think that some of the, like, for instance, when I watched the Queen Mary episode on Unsolved Mysteries, I had no idea that it had had such a storied reputation of being so haunted. And I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not I believe in ghosts. I was raised by a mother that believes quite strongly in them. But I just found it so interesting that it was like so verified as a haunted vessel. And
Yeah.
just these stories, I think, were just so interesting. As I said, they kind of wrote themselves. Like I have so many records at this point, and a large majority of my albums up till this point have been first person. Well, actually, that's not true. There was the early ones were really made make believe stories about other people,
Right.
and then I started writing first person confessional, and the new work is kind of an amalgamation of the two. But I just it was an idea that I had, and I remember my people were kind of like, I was worried it would be a little kitschy. That's why I didn't make the whole record. Just, I didn't want it like every song to be like that because
Yeah.
I wanted them to have double meanings. Like a, a woman in an unhappy relationship, for instance, can relate to Bessie Hyde and wanting to maybe escape her life, fake her death, disappear. I just found the parallels really fitting for where I was in my life at the time.
Yeah, the did you make it? Did you fake it? That hits so hard, and it really leaves it
Thanks.
open ended, you know.
Yeah. And I'm still wondering, like, there was a woman that claimed to be Bessie, which is in the song, like 50 years later. It kind of like the Russian Revolution when Anastasia, the lost daughter, people came forward claiming to be her.
Right.
And I ended up that those women weren't her, but it looks like this Bessie might very well have been the real Bessie because it wasn't a well-known story and it wasn't on the TV show yet. Like nobody really knew about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I find that story fascinating, and I mean, in the way
Yeah.
you weave it into the songs, brilliant. And I really love the covers you choose. It's almost like a work of art the way you choose them. The choices really reveal your love of music. And The Wrath of the Clouds concludes with a cover of the Leslie Brothers' Seabird. Is this sound in any way, is this an indication of where you're going in the future?
I'm not sure where I'm going in the future. Like I went so hard on that record. Like I really put like almost 2 years into it in a way. Like I wrote way more than the songs that are on the record. But the Alessi Brothers song I heard while watching The Hunt for the Wilder People, I think is the name of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the closing song on that movie, and I heard it and I was like, what is this? This is so catchy. And I just loved it. I loved their lisps. I loved the vocal delivery, and just I do love pop, and I love a catchy chorus. Like even as bleak as some of my music is, I've always like gravitated towards the accessibility and universality of melody. And so I wasn't even sure I could sing that fast. I had never sung something that fast before or poppy. So we'll see. People really liked it. So I might like make up a fake band name and make like a record of like crazy pop, or not pop, but like, that style.
Oh my God, you should so do that.
Yeah, it would be really fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I'd extricate myself out of like cult status finally.
Well, okay, let's. You're playing Psycho Las Vegas in August.
Yeah.
And how do you prepare a set list for like mostly a lineup that's got black metal bands, death metal bands for a festival crowd, or is that even a concern?
Well, I've been really embraced by the metal, like the black metal community and the goth community. And I think it makes sense because of maybe because of this subject matter of so much of my material, like from the very beginning, like my first record's called Ballads of Living and Dying, and there's like a very high body count in my discography.
There is.
So people, like, I fit in more with that crowd than the indie rock crowd because I was just I've always been kind of a weirdo. So when preparing the set list, I think for that show, I'm probably going to play the record,
Right.
like, and I'm going to play that with a full band. And I'm excited for it. Like, it's starting to come together. It's kind of surreal to even be playing shows again. Like, part of me is like, can I still do this? But of course I can. It's just been so long, you know?
Yeah. It's just I see this renaissance happening if things can just maintain on their hopeful trajectory, and gosh, it is going to be, but that's going to be amazing with a full band out there. Can't wait to see that. What's the first festival setting you remember playing at?
The first festival that I played was it was a festival in Bristol, England, actually. Like, I was more well known in Europe before the US. I toured more there first. When my first record came out, I had an invitation. It was called the Venn Festival. I had stage fright. I still have stage fright, but it's so bad. I was just like petrified, and I played alone. I toured alone, taking trains and using phone cards. It was like pre iPhone era. Like, it was like early 2000s when I started playing live. So now I'm a lot more confident in the material. Still not like a natural performer, but there's a big difference between being a performer and being a musician.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Can you tell us anything about the band you're putting together for these?
Yeah.
Things?
Well, Milky will be with me,
okay,
and then I have this woman named Monica Kott, Khot, who is going to be singing all my harmonies. Like, she's been in a bunch of bands, and she showed up for the practice for the New York show, having known every word, every harmony. I was so impressed. And Don McGreevy, who's been in Earth and some other bands, is going to play drums. And Milky's been in a bunch. Like, he was in a bunch. I met those dudes in Seattle, and then I think Jesse Chandler might be playing the keyboards, who it was on the record too. So it'll be like a four-piece or five-piece, and I'm excited for it. And there's some dates up the West Coast that I haven't announced yet. And I have a warm-up show in Atlanta, actually, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, that's just about an hour and 20 minutes down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, like next week.
I saw that.
April 8th. Yeah, so that's like my first dip back in a while. So I just kind of wanted to get my feet wet again. That'll be fun.
Are you playing the Eastern?
No.
For the Tabernacle or
529.
Does
that
yes,
sound right?
That would have been my next guess. Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah,
that's super exciting. Yeah, we're a little college town right down the road.
Tell all the college kids to come. I'm sure there'll be like 3 people there.
I'll bring some people down.
Yeah.
But getting back to, I cannot let you get away before I talk to you about this. One of my favorite records over the last couple of years, and from 2019, you released Drone Flower, a collaboration with the amazing Stephen Brodsky of Cave-In and others. And this is one of my favorite releases of yours and Stephen's. I mean, For the Sun is just startling in its originality. I mean, will we be getting more Drone Flower?
Yes. Steve and I are really good friends, and I agree that project is really special. We kind of wrote the songs collaboratively. It was one of the first times I'd like written to somebody else's, like I did that with him and also Simon Ramone for his Lost Horizons project. But I think we're going to do another Drone Flower when his Cave-In tour, like, they have a big record coming out, and then we've talked about doing more because that was just really fun.
Yeah, and just the songs themselves, the interludes, the instrumental. I mean, and then the cover of Estranged. You know, what a undertaking there. I remember when those records came out. A strange. I mean, even before the amazing video, but the video, that Estranged and Coma off those two records, the real long epic ones, really stuck out to me. And to hear somebody reinterpret that song in that fashion, I mean, it makes it. To me, it makes it more dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a huge Guns N' Roses. I'm a huge fan of the Guns N' Roses ballads, and I know that like Axl has got like kind of a checkered history in some ways, and so like whatever. I just talk about the music, but I even my brother remembered how much I loved watching that video as a kid, like of Axl swimming with the dolphins, and it's
Absolutely.
got the tastiest riff, and I just thought. I really want to cover that. I'd always wanted to cover it. And we almost gave up on that a bunch of times because it's so long and to do it with just two people without like it was hard, but I'm really happy with the way it came out. It's spooky.
Yeah, I put that on for people, and they are just floored. I mean, it's really great to hear, those songs reinterpreted, through people that were there as well when they were coming out and loved them so much when they were younger. But that's about all I've got today, and I just want to thank
Awesome.
you so much for taking the time out to talk to us.
Oh, it's
Uh,
my pleasure. Thank you for the interest in my music. It means
yeah.
a lot.
And is there anything you'd like anywhere? Where's the best place our listeners can get in touch with you, or just a hub that to read about the music and purchase
I
music?
would
And
say like Bandcamp is the best place to like get the music because I'm not like the biggest fan of Spotify. It's everywhere, but else if I'm on Instagram and all that, like
right.
I share a lot of my visual artwork on there. So yeah, I mean, just thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank our guest Marissa Nadler for taking her time to chat with us about her music, and make sure you go down the rabbit hole with her records. They're so amazing. And Drone Flower, which we were just talking about with Stephen Brodsky of Cave In. It's a really special record, and I know you're going to dig it. And that's our show for tonight. We will be back with you very soon. And stay switched on, and we'll talk to you later.